Okay, so I'm aware I probably just gave a 10-minute talk in absolute silence. So this is my second attempt to use this new technology that I currently have. So I guess let me just check, as this is my first time really using this. I'll just check my Facebook page to see if it's coming through with sound. See if. Aha. Okay, that's great. So now I know that you can hear me. So the reason I'm doing these videos isn't necessarily for any particular audience, if you like. There's an awareness that I have a number of students who come to my Tai Chi classes who are 70 and over. So one of the main purposes and motivations behind starting these videos is to provide them with Tai Chi resources. And then I'm saying them, if you're watching and you come to one of my classes, it's so good to be able to touch base with you in this way. And in the coming week, we'll be sharing some online Tai Chi sessions. As I said, at the classes, we'll be doing 3 a week of stages 1 to 5, more advanced form. If you don't know about this, and if you're one of my students who is watching this video now, then please send me your email. And when I do because this is a long form, more advanced Tai Chi video, these won't be for general release, so that the Tai Chi videos I'll be sharing will be for my students only. And if you're watching this and you aren't currently one of my Tai Chi students, also don't worry, because I'll probably be sharing my first online Qigong workshop this week as a freebie to see if that's something that interests you. And I'm hoping to get my online business as a Tai Chi teacher, meditation teacher, up and running by the very latest beginning of April, in which I'm hoping to provide a month-long set of teachings and practices that will appear Monday to Friday, and some homework for the weekends, so that you can maximize your time at home, living like a monk or a nun, and get the full benefit from this. What for many of us might seem like a curse, but actually that's going to be our approach. Can we see this as a curse, or can we actually see it as a blessing? And I would recommend the looking of it as a blessing. And we can use it many times as a blessing. We can use it to maybe develop, maybe we've been looking to do a hobby and never got round to it because we've been so caught by work and the world. And now you have that time to, learn or practice a hobby you may have always wanted to do. Maybe you wanted to further your education and didn't have time. Here is your time, to further your knowledge about the subject. And there's so many free courses that universities are offering online, through so many instructional courses on YouTube. So you can use the time wisely in that way. Of course, what my offering will be is I pretty much live like a monk anyway, so this lockdown is normal life for me. There's not really that much difference. In fact, as well as I can hold my heart open to this isn't going to be a beautiful experience for absolutely everyone in the world, especially those people who are affected by the virus that's sweeping the globe at the moment. I can hold that people are going to really suffer through this, but I can also say, okay, well, there's a collective experience of this and there's an individual experience of this. And so my recommendation would be to look at what your individual experience of this is going to be. Are you going to suffer where there's no real need for you to suffer? Or are you going to find some peace, some lightness, some joy, some happiness, and actually bring that into the collective experience of this pandemic? So we can all make that choice. So today's introductory post, if you like, and interestingly, I'm doing it through YouTube because I tried to do it as a Facebook Live post about 3 times, and it just wouldn't recognize my webcam, which has actually turned out to be a blessing, because actually the older generation that I work with aren't on Facebook. So in being forced to do this on YouTube, it has allowed me to share it with Facebook, but it has also allowed me to do it in a way that I can actually start to send this out to some of my students who are isolated at home. And again, if you're watching this, so beautiful to touch base with you and have this portal to be able to stay in touch with you. Because I've already done a 10-minute talk that had no sound on it and had to delete that and start again. Sorry if I go over anything twice. It's a bit hazy in my mind what I have and haven't said. But I guess we'll get underway with today's talk. And today's talk is around uncertainty. And it's around uncertainty because what I try and bring to many of these talks is my own personal experience of dealing with life from either a Taoist or a devotional, whichever of the two paths that I follow. The Taoist really predominantly through my meditation practice, through my contemplative practice, and through my Tai Chi Qigong practice. Also, I do a very Taoist approach to yoga teaching. So that predominantly my teachings are what you could call, or practices are very much based in the Taoist philosophy, but I also understand and embrace the devotional tradition as well, understanding they lead to the same recognition anyway, like all the paths lead up to the same mountaintop. So today's exploration is around uncertainty. And I'm doing this talk around uncertainty because last night I had a business which up to about a week ago was at 100% capacity, plenty of classes, an income which allowed me to live outside of really too much debt. And so a week ago that was taken away suddenly. You know, this virus epidemic is a day-by-day experience. So a week ago that I was down to 20% classes. So I had 20%, which the gyms that I work with were continuing to provide. Then of course, understandably, because we want to protect the citizens of the world and our country, and especially the elderly, then last night the instruction was given to close all restaurants, all gyms, all entertainment places as we go into this big quarantine or big lockdown, what I call, the big international retreat, the big forced retreat. So uncertainty. So uncertainty in Taoism is actually what we try and live in. Same as Zen, we're actually encouraged to live in a state of not knowing, of uncertainty, which means not holding on to the past or thinking we know based on the future. Now, don't listen to this with your logical mind, because your logical mind say, well, we need to know what's a knife and a fork, and we need to know where to go and get food from the supermarket. I'm not talking about the gut level of reaction to these teachings. They're deeper than that, deeper than intellectualization. Your intellect can only take you so far. You have to transcend the idea that the intellect, we could call the intellect, is the presuming that we know everything, or that we know enough, which we might do to get through daily life. But how about the nature of existence? To understand that, we have to transcend the intellect into not knowing. So then, if we look at the Tao of uncertainty, we can say life is uncertain. Actually, uncertainty is where we get our peace. Presuming to know can often cause stress or a momentary relief from some pain. But if you notice that if you read a news headline, if you go and see a tarot person, and if you're sure about the future, whatever you're sure about, some contrary information may come, a different opinion may come, and suddenly that house of cards which you built your certainty on falls apart. So actually, we're told by Lao Tzu that presuming to know, he describes it this way: presuming to know about something, he calls that a disease. And he says, really, to know the Tao, the great way of things. And he even says the Tao is calling it the Tao as a problem in his opening line. He says, once we call it the Tao, it no longer is really the Tao, it becomes a concept. But the Tao is a word that he describes as a word he uses to point to something that's beyond the concept of what the Tao is. We're encouraged actually to break everything down into its simplest, most beautiful and basic form. So for many of us, it's not uncertainty that's a problem. It's, as Zen Master Suzuki Roshi said, presuming to know. When he spoke about the beginner's mind. He said that a mind that isn't clinging to knowing, the beginner's mind, is what Zen really is. To live in a kind of state in which we're not too caught about how this is all going to turn out, what this means. And we can see that all of us have our unique programming. So generally, people who maybe grew up in a family that said never trust the government, there's a presuming that the knowing comes from, in that situation, only maybe the conspiracy theories or alternative media have the answers. Therefore, this is a manufactured thing, and it's going to cause this lockdown, and this is the one world government, all that kind of stuff. So that's one reaction, and that usually probably comes from people who don't trust the government, but also need to feel that they know. So the feeling of knowing comes from the alternative media now. Then you've got people who've been conditioned by the parents, absolutely follow the rules, don't question the rules. And so be polite, be kind always, but not necessarily because being kind is a beautiful thing, but because that's a rule of life. So people who've been told to be kind are losing their minds with people who are absolutely terrified, stockpiling food and toilet rolls. So that hatred comes again, because the rules I've been told about being compassionate aren't being followed, so therefore they don't deserve my compassion. So we can see all these different, modalities playing out with people hanging on to knowing. And we can see it with the news media as well, like, oh my God, there's something I don't know. And so we turn the news on again and we watch a president or a prime minister or an expert in China or someone, please give me knowing. And then that knowing just maybe creates more suffering in us, more uncertainty, as we're driven away from our personal intuitive experience of our unique part in this global experience. So not knowing is an invitation. It's an invitation to come back to our individual experience, to realize whatever happens on a global scale is not going to be our experience. Our experience is going to be our experience within that. Some of us won't experience anything. Some of us might get the most mild cold for a day or something we've ever had if we get this. Everyone's going to have an individual. Some people are going to go through hell with this experience, with a family member. It's going to be individual to us. But the problem is, if we just only look at the people having a very big problematic experience, which hopefully will be a great minority of people. Worst case scenario so far, unfortunately, looking at in Italy with a very aging population, could be up to about 10% mortality, but yet in a system that works well managed could be as less as 0.5%, which we can hope and pray for. And obviously that we're being told, but that's the importance of our enforced retreat. So actually we can keep the pandemic at that lower number. So again, that's using the wisdom, using wisdom. I have a few comments on my Facebook. Let me just see if they're in relation to this video, because I'm also aware, because this is all new technology for me. This is a new webcam, which hopefully is much clearer, new microphone, new PC, which I've really brought in to be able to deliver this stuff more effectively. I suppose what I'd also like to talk about is my up and coming things, as I just start to wrap this up. This is more of an exploratory experience, really, just to see how YouTube interfaces with Facebook. But what I would like to say is that I have a few things coming up. The first is, if you're an existing Tai Chi student, as I've already said, you have a few options. One, if some of you have paid for classes for the next 8 weeks, for example. So I'm happy to be able to deliver 3 classes a week via YouTube, absolutely free to you because you've paid already. If you're an existing Tai Chi student, who'd like to maybe come and take advantage of, maybe if you've been working with me in the gyms and you want to take advantage of these online classes, which we'll be doing 3 a week, 3 Tai Chi lessons, what I've done is look at my costings. And so what I'm going to offer to existing Tai Chi students who haven't paid up front but want to continue to train with me from home is a price of £15 for the month. That will include, as I say, 3 Tai Chi classes a week, plenty of talks. I want to try and stay in touch with you all every day from Monday to Friday. Possibly some weekends, but I also have to recognize that I might be wanting some downtime myself. So I'll send some information. Please email me, text me or something, if you want to study with me for the next month. And we can sort out about payment through bank transfer or check in the post, or, we'll find a way of doing that. And of course, I'm also in the awareness that some people like myself may have lost their job and not be in a financial place to be able to pay for classes. That's no problem. Then don't pay. It doesn't matter. Just still come and enjoy these classes. I'll just send you the link out anyway. But there's also a reality at the moment in my experience that I'm trying to do this at the lowest cost possible, but also an awareness that I have no income coming in. So, but also that would never be a stumbling block for you to come and train with me as ever. Now I have this place where we can work together on the classes. Also, if you don't come to my classes, what I'm hoping to launch in the beginning of April, maybe earlier, is an online platform in which we will probably do a group retreat together for anyone who wants to. Also, maybe a daily Tai Chi class of learning Tai Chi, as opposed to, my other students who are quite available to that already, have done it already. So there's going to be quite a few options, and I'll tell you a bit more about those as we go in the future days. But thank you for joining me today. Thank you for helping me test out this equipment and this new way of doing things. And I'm going to try and do this most days and get it a little bit better at it, a bit more streamlined, and understand this technology so I can continue to offer you content. And of course, I'm hoping to put out all free stuff onto Facebook, as I've been doing for years, and will continue to do each day. So have a beautiful day. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to posting something else as soon as possible, hopefully tomorrow. Okay. Enjoy your retreat day. Find a way of enjoying it. Use the time wisely. Invest in your own development, spiritually, psychologically, or emotionally, and have a beautiful day. Thank you.